I was recently trying to analyze the running biomechanics, and what I want you to observe is this following video of myself running in the wildness, running like a wild man. But what I want you to think about that is that the body does not work in isolation. Everybody in your body works with certain specific patterns of movement, and it does not work in isolation. Why this is very important to understand? Because if you want to move pain-free, if you want to run pain-free, if you want to be pain-free, from a biomechanical point of view, you need to understand this concept that nothing works in isolation. You have evolved, our bodies and as a human beings, we have evolved doing and executing certain patterns of movement. One of them is running. And seriously, you're gonna observe this image. When you see that image, look how many things are happening. So your body, when you're moving, is constantly having a battle between creating tension, creating compression, creating, on the other hand, elongation or length in some specific muscles. So it's constantly on this pattern of one muscle is contracting, another one is relaxing. But this is happening in certain specific chains. It's like, imagine you driving on the motorway. There's different specific ways that you're gonna go from point A to point B. And the traffic is under control because there's different directions, different lines. So some cars are going in one direction, and other cars are going in the other direction. So that makes the traffic to be fluent, and there's no traffic jam. But what's happening when there's an accident on the road, on one specific road? Suddenly there starts to have a lot of traffic jam. It's exactly the same with your body. When you start having some accidents, meaning that you have some calcifications on your body, that you have some injuries, that your connective tissue is not working, or that you emphasize in your training program in movement patterns that are just working in one plane of motion, like what? Squats, for example, isolated movements, and other classical traditional gym movements. Does that mean that those movements are not going to be optimal for you? Not really. It depends on the context. But the main message is that nothing works in isolation. Everything works connected in certain specific ways. So once you understand that, you can start, sending the workers, sending the firemen into the road to start clearing and hopefully helping that accident or that little disturbance that is happening on the road and is not allowing the traffic to move on. So that's because, for example, as you can observe in this specific video, I apply different techniques and I do specific exercises where you see they are like strange or they are weird, but they are respecting certain patterns of the body. For example, what you can see in that movement, there is different lines of force. So one of them is coming from behind, the other one is coming from in front. That's going to create activation in some specific muscles, as you can see on the running biomechanics video. So what you need to understand is that nothing works in isolation, and it's good if you start working in isolation, because that's going to create awareness. It's going to start putting your brain into it's going to help your brain to be sending the right message into the specific area of your body. But in your daily life, with your design, everything works together. For example, what you can see in that video, when that person is running, look at the right side of the lats. The right lat is getting activated because it's creating traction, it's pulling when running, but when running is pulling in order to transmit that force and the tension on the cross line to the opposite glute, the left glutes, but not just the glutes, also the hamstrings and also the calves in order to execute the motion. Can you train? How can you train this? How can you address this? How can you enhance this inherent pattern? Well, you can train, like for example, this movement you see. That person is initiating the movement with a pulling, is transmitting the force to the opposite side, and is driving a motion that is happening. It's moving in space. So it's being propelled forward because that force distribution that is starting from the lats, crossing down to the opposite glute, crossing down to the hamstrings, crossing down to the calves, and moving finally forward. But as you can see in that specific movement, we focus I'm telling you just in one specific direction, which is on your back. What's happening in the front part of the body? Well, that's the complexity. There's a lot of different roads and motorways. So on the front part of the body, observe how at some point the abdomen, the contralateral side of the abdomen, is supporting the body, and it's activating the red area to support the hip and allowing that making sure that the hip does not drop down. That's what is happening very often when you see people running. And then suddenly what's happening on the contralateral side of the erector spinae and the quadratus lumborum and lumbar muscles is getting activated. So as you can see, there is asymmetric activations. Now my question is, why do we prioritize symmetric motions? Well, that's one of the main problems in the fitness industry, that it's based and orientated in symmetric movements, especially in the sagittal plane. So when you're training someone, or if your aim is to enhance patterns of movement, or your aim is to live pain-free, run pain-free, you need to consider that, because otherwise your approach of isolated movements or purely symmetrical movements is not going to work in the long run, because all this force transmission it does not work just merely with muscles. It works with something that is connected in the muscles, and that connection is made mainly through the fascia, which is like a tissue that it envelopes and interpenetrates the muscles, the organs, and that helps to transmit the forces. It's like a spider web. If you observe this spider web that you see there, do you see the different connections? Okay, so that's very similar what is happening with the connective tissue of your body. And we cannot deny this biological shape or this biological structure that we have. If we don't respect that, we are going to have pain sooner or later. And eventually, what I've been observing, and I'm a very young man, but what I've been observing is that eventually people get injured in the gyms, or they get injured and having pain. Is it possible to postpone or regenerate rather than degenerate? I believe so. If we respect biology, we respect the body, and we enhance and optimize these tissues, that can happen. Is it an easy process? No, it takes time. It's a very holistic process because there's a lot of things influencing it. But understanding how it works, it will help you to make better decisions according and respecting the beautiful gift of your body. This is David El Corbarrutia from Body, Emotion and Movement Methods, reminding you to move pain-free and live. Thank you very much, and don't forget to share far and wide to help this project to grow and reach more people. Thank you, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.